Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Kalila Reynolds. The Alpart plant in Nain, St. Elizabeth reopened today after 9 years. It's now under new ownership, the Chinese conglomerate Jiquan Iron and Steel Company, JISCO. JISCO is now set to start mining bauxite and producing alumina for export. It's expected to significantly impact the economy, resulting in a return to growth after a flat quarter. Transport and Mining Minister Mike Henry says the economic benefits are already being felt with the creation of more than 800 jobs. JISCO is expected to spend some $171 million a month on salaries alone once fully operational. They're also expected to invest billions of dollars in the industry over the next few years. Prime Minister Andrew Holness attended this morning's opening ceremony, planting a tree to mark the restart of operations. Jamaica does not need to draw funds from the standby agreement with the IMF, despite billions of dollars in losses from recent floods. That's the position of IMF resident representative to Jamaica, Dr. Constant Longkeng Guana. He was speaking with BATV News today. Here's Andrew Lately with more.
Dr. Guana says a drought late last year and early this year, coupled with recent flooding, has negatively impacted the island's growth. But he says it's a bit too early to determine whether the country will require a drawdown from the $1.7 billion precautionary standby arrangement, SBA. The agreement was signed in November as a sort of insurance policy against economic shocks.
There has not been any indication from the government of a need to draw down, and that's our assessment too. Also, due to the fact that these are early days, we will have to wait and see what happens next. We're hoping that no additional flooding occur, but we will have to wait and see. And in terms of the design of the program, that precautionary line actually is more geared towards shocks that will affect the reserve position of the country in terms of balance of payment.
He says a drawdown may become necessary if domestic shocks like heavy rains and flooding starts to affect Jamaica's loan payments to external creditors.
Those domestic shocks could have spiral, could spill over into balance of payment needs, in which case the credit line will be most appropriate. In terms of program design, we open to discussing with the government whenever they think that drawing on the credit line is warranted. And really, at the end of the day, the Jamaican economy is working towards engineering fiscal space that would allow the country in its budget to carve out a large contingency fund that could allow the country to readily respond to those type of shocks. And
the IMF resident representative says he's pleased that the government has already initiated plans to ensure that a contingency fund is in place to tackle domestic shocks of this nature.
The fiscal space is just so constrained today that that envelope, it's there, but it's quite relatively small, given the scope of shocks, of potential shocks that can hit the Jamaican economy. So with the fiscal anchor, with debt coming down firmly, Jamaica will put itself in a place where a larger contingency could be embedded into the budget to quickly react to those type of events.
In the meantime, Dr. Guana says despite slow growth now, there's still evidence of a stable macroeconomic environment. He says this positions the nation well for future growth.
16-17, although the last quarter was disappointing, you would see that looking at the composition of growth, you see strong housing start, you see strong construction, you see manufacturing growing. So those to us are signal that the fundamentals are there for a better growth prospect. Think about
the IMF staff team led by Dr. Uma Ramakrishnan visited Kingston from June 12 to 16 to take stock of progress on Jamaica's economic reform program supported by the IMF's precautionary standby arrangement, SBA. For BATV News, I'm Andrew Lately.
The Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, PCJ, is now testing biofuel developed here in Jamaica in vehicles. It's part of the PCJ's biodiesel research in conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture, Bodle's Agricultural Research Station, and the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI. PCJ Group General Manager Winston Watson says they've developed a brand of biodiesel from the castor plant that grows wild in Jamaica. He says while they cannot divulge too much information about the results now, they are refining the formula based on feedback from the trials, which have been ongoing since December 2016. He says they're optimistic that once this phase of the research is completed, the PCJ's B5 blend of biofuels will be an affordable option for driving energy efficiency in the transportation sector. It's expected that the PCJ's B5 blend can replace about 97,000 barrels of imported oil. This will result in savings of over $500 million in Jamaica's energy bill. Chairman of Factories Corporation of Jamaica, Littleton Tanny Shirley, is giving the assurance that the redevelopment of the old Goodyear factory located on the outskirts of Morant Bay in St. Thomas to the Morant Bay Urban Center will be business-driven. Speaking at a stakeholders meeting on Monday at the FCG's head office in New Kingston, Mr. Shirley said there will be discussions with large cross-section of investors who have an interest in the development to drive the process. He was responding to a concern about the possible delay in the start of the development due to a lengthy tender process. The concern was raised by Eastern St. Thomas Member of Parliament Dr. Fenton Ferguson, who made an appeal to the government to ensure that the development is not hampered by a protracted tender process. According to Dr. Ferguson, the tender process should not be one which takes 5 years to be completed. And still to come, we'll tell you how the proposed National Identification System NIDS is to work. Stay with us. Welcome back. Imagine only needing one ID to conduct all your business transactions and access your civil services. That's ultimately what the National Identification System NIDS is intended to do. Program Director on the project, Warren Vernon, says the vision is to make it a blanket ID which can be used to do business with both the public and private sector. Andrew Laidley has more.
Program Director at NIDS, Warren Vernon, says the full rollout of the government's National Identification System will not happen all at once. But he says the plan is to replace all existing forms of identification with NIDS over time. It will eventually replace your TRN, NIS, and even your driver's license.
Looking down the road, I am thinking that we will move in that direction where we have one ID, one card, one identity to access all government services. And also, we are looking ahead for the one ID, the one card to access all services in the private sector.
While the NIDS database will require biometric identification such as your fingerprints, Acting Chief Technical Director in charge of the project, Jacqueline Lynch Stewart, says it won't require your DNA or banking information. These were struck out of the draft bill following privacy concerns. There's been public outcry over the past 2 days after reports that NIDS would collect DNA and banking details.
We will not, and I want to stress that because we will not, never considered it ever, collecting a DNA. Political affiliation and sexual orientation is omitted, and it states so in the bill.
She says all information outside of the regular identifying markers will be voluntary.
The things that we need for identity management will be mandatory. However, the other things that we're asking people to provide to us upon enrollment is for statistics only. It is similar to what you would have given to the census taker had he or she visited your home. And that is why it is voluntary. Because if the census taker came to your home, you have the right to say, I'm not answering those questions.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Laidley.
Immediate past president of the Incorporated Master Builders Association, Carvel Stewart, says he's not aware of a shortage of cement on the market. This despite reports to BATV News that cement has been unavailable for several days. Anthony Morgan reports.
According to Stewart, cement deliveries have been back on track in recent times. He says Caribbean Cement Company, which is a near monopoly in the cement market, had been having challenges with delivery. However, he says that situation has been fixed and members of the Incorporated Master Builders Association have been receiving their supply.
At this time, we are not aware that there is a current shortage. There was a slowing down of delivery recently when they had some equipment problems at the plant, but they have repaired those items of equipment, and we have been back on track in terms of receipt of cement recently.
The past president says a cement shortage would pose a problem to businesses and the construction sector, as with any other building material.
Whenever there's a shortage, effectively there is a slowdown in the pace of construction, because cement is an integral material to our methodology in construction. So the effect is usually a slowing down until the shortage is relieved.
But he says the industry is remaining proactive in the event of another shortage.
When it happened in the past, we had meetings with all parties, including the government, and we were able to convince them to issue import licenses for cement during that time. So the industry is fairly proactive when it comes to issues affecting the performance in the industry. So once there's a shortage, we usually get to the various suppliers and try to alleviate it.
Meanwhile, Mr. Stewart says the association has been notified of an increase in cement prices effective July 1. However, he says the increase will not have a major impact on the industry.
And this increase that they have notified us of is a relatively small one. It's $38 per bag, and bag is now being sold for about $900. So it's a small percentage.
Efforts to contact Caribbean Cement Company today proved futile, with several calls going unanswered. For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
Sandals Resorts, in collaboration with the Social Development Commission, will host a two-day training session for almost 50 aspiring entrepreneurs from the rural areas of St. James. The workshop seeks to expose participants with innovative product ideas to methods of product development and packaging. Participants will undergo practical training of creating cosmetic and nutraceutical products such as herbal soaps and lotions, body wash and scrubs, natural deodorants, herbal creams, ointments, and supplements, among others, guided by experts of the Scientific Research Council, alongside Dr. Delhaim McKenzie. Dr. Delhaim McKenzie, followed by a theory-based session of drafting business plans, models, budgets, marketing plans, and more. This is only one of several avenues that's been inaugurated by Sandals Resorts to assist with prospects for wealth creation, which have benefited over 150 business-minded people over the past 4 years. Stay with us. Regional and international stories are after the break. Welcome back. It's time now for regional and international news. More than 60 donor and borrower governments have agreed to fight extreme poverty in the Caribbean and other places. That's according to the World Bank, which says the coalition will accomplish their task through a $75 billion commitment for the International Development Association, IDA. IDA is the World Bank's fund for the poorest countries. The World Bank says the funding will enable IDA to dramatically scale up development interventions to tackle conflict, fragility and violence, forced displacement, climate change, gender inequality, and promote governance and institution building. It says the funding will also address jobs and economic transformation. The bank notes that these efforts are underpinned by an overarching commitment to invest in growth, resilience, and opportunity. The IDA 18 replenishment period, which runs from July 1, 2017 to June 30, 2020, is expected to support essential health and nutrition services for up to 400 million people, provide access to improved water sources for up to 45 million people, provide financial services for 4 to 6 million people, and enable safe childbirth for up to 11 million women through provision of skilled health personnel. Trinidadians are picking up the pieces a day after Tropical Storm Brett. More in this report.
Brett in Goodwill Tracing Enterprise, where most of the residents are now doing heavy cleanup work. Several houses have been flooded out. Several people are unable to go to work as they are trying to salvage what they can from their homes. This water pump moved from house to house as residents had a major cleanup task on their hands. Rocky James admits that the flooding left him in a quandary as he had only recently got a stable job and hoped to get to work on Tuesday.
When the storm had come way overboard, boy, real people suffer too, as you can see. And that, in working as a working man, I really trying to get over my problem, so I working right now. All the time I wasn't stable working, so now that I get a little job and stable myself to try to fix my thing, but with this flood and this disaster what happened, boy, it just pulled me out about a day. And today's I working there, as you see, and I just had to stay home to go through this again.
He said his stove had been flooded and he had to throw out one of his sofas. He was offered the choice to stay at the shelter, but vowed to stay and clean his home.
No, well, I go try and finish it, but that's the best I could. I was trying to, boy.
Are you aware that we have the shelter available to you if you want to go across?
No, but really, I'm sure I had to go to work in the morning and I don't want to go to no shelter, and I had to clean my place. I go clean my place and try to make it.
Shemika Reason Tracy, however, felt her children would be better off in a shelter when the rising waters entered her home.
Well, I have two kids ages 7 and 5, and inside was full of water, so obviously we couldn't sleep there. I called the ODPM. They carried me over to the shelter, which is located Francois and Railway Road in Enterprise. That's the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we slept there for the night. They were very courteous. My kids are there still because they can't come back here with the extent of the damage inside with regards to the germs and stuff like that.
Over in Bagaloo Trace, similar cleanup operations were in effect. The residents say the nearby river regularly broke its banks and flooded homes. Storm or not, they're wary when the rains come again. Peter Christopher, C News.
Stay with us. Talking Stocks is after the break. Welcome back. It's time now for Talking Stocks. 49 stocks traded today, of which 26 advanced, 14 declined, and 9 traded firm. The main JSE index advanced by 1,133 points to close at 236,379. The junior index also advanced by 38 points to close at 3,194. Over 2 million units traded, valued at more than $76 million on the Jamaican dollar market. And on the U.S. dollar market, over 197,000 units traded, valued at more than $48,000 US dollars. Sagicor Group, with over 717,000 units changing hands, accounted for 23% of market volume. Scotia Group was second, with over 510,000 units trading. Caribbean Cream, with over 210,000 units, accounted for 7% of market volume crossing the floor. Mayberry Investments was the top advancer, up 70 cents to close at $5.20. followed by Palace Amusement Company, up $50 to close at $390, and Derrimon Trading Company, up 30 cents to close at $2.50. The main decliners were Berger Paints, losing $1.36 to close at $16.14, followed by Proven Investments, down 2 cents to close at 24 cents, and T-Tech, down 55 cents to close at $8.45. In foreign exchange trading, the U.S. dollar ended the day selling for $129.21 against the Jamaican dollar. The Canadian went for $97.24, while the British pound closed the day at $163.52 on average. And that's the news. But before we go, a recap of our top story. 800 jobs already created as Alpart reopens in Nain, St. Elizabeth today. Thanks for watching. For more content, visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Pleasant viewing.